Okay, good evening. We'll try this again. Welcome everybody to the 2016 College and Career Readiness Forum for Success here at Trumbull High School. I want to thank everyone for coming out again. This is the third year that we have done this. It started out modestly at the Trumbull Public Library, and then we did it again last year here to some great success, and it looks like we have even a better turnout tonight. So I want to thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules and your home time for coming out. We have a great show lined up for you tonight. We have some great speakers to talk to you, and then we have a panel of former THS students and a panel of current THS students that are going to talk to you about some of the wonderful things that happen here at Trumbull High School and in the public school system. Every great public school system has to have a leader, and we have one who happens to be great as well. So it is my pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Gary Chaffee.
Eric is a great educator, believe me. So I'd like to first welcome you to our third annual forum, and thank you so much for joining us this evening. I'd like to begin by just a few comments. When we hear about college and career readiness for success, we often hear some catchphrases like student-centered learning, 21st century skills. What does that really mean? I can't think of a better way to really find out what that specific information is all about than hearing directly from a college representative, a human resources representative, and we're very fortunate to be able to start off our forum with those representatives this evening. Just a few moments to give you an overview of what will happen after that. We will hear from our panel of THS students, Trumbull students who are, of course, currently here, but also THS graduates who fortunately are still here. They're not getting back to their post-high school endeavors, whether it be college or career or what have you. So it's great for us to have them with us. I can't think of a better way to get real good sources for us to hear about student perspectives on college and career readiness for success than having them with us. And finally, we will hear from you. We have structured in our program a segment for us to engage you in a question and answer session, and we also will welcome your feedback, certainly. So our message tonight is simply to encourage all students to explore the available opportunities to find your passion. Extensions of the classroom, hands-on experiences that enable you to find your passion. And it doesn't mean that you have to be joining up for too many things so that you're overbooked, but to take your time and find your passion through exploration. There is something here for all students. There's something here for everyone. Everyone would be able to find something that is valuable. So, at this point, I'd like to begin with the first segment of the program by introducing to you the people that I said would be starting out with, again, college representation, career representation. So first, to my immediate left is Dr. Don Gibson. He is a professor and dean at the Dolan School of Business at Fairfield University. Dr. Gibson has received a Master of Arts in Radio and Television from San Francisco State, an MBA in Management from UCLA, and he earned his doctorate also in Management at UCLA. He has been an assistant professor in organizational behavior at the Yale School of Management, Yale University, and prior to becoming dean, he was chair of the management at the Dolan School of Business. When Don was asked about the value of this forum, Don believes that this is a time when preparing effectively for college and or a career has never been so important in the context of a challenging job market and increasing costs of a university education. This forum helps students with that preparation, focusing on different occupations for achieving student goals. Also with us, representing the career workforce arena, We have Tom Cesaro. Tom is the Vice President of Human Resources for the Standard Motor Products Company, a billion-dollar New York City Stock Exchange corporation. And Tom is responsible for 4,000 employees worldwide, including the recruitment of talent, internship programs, college recruitment, and all aspects of the employment experience over at Standard. Tom's a graduate of Fordham and Fordham University School of Law. He's a member in good standing of the New York and Federal Bar, and he's an adjunct professor of management at Fordham's Gabelli School of Business at both the graduate and undergraduate levels. Before I begin with Don Gibson to share with us his views on college and career readiness for success, I'd like to mention that both Tom Cesaro and Don Gibson are not here just for this evening. Both are residents of Trumbull. They have incredibly given of themselves as volunteers for our Trumbull High School students in a variety of ways that relate to preparing for success beyond high school. So with that, please join me in welcoming Dr. Don Gibson.
Thank you, Dr. Chalfie, and thank you for those of you, for Dan Newman and others, Katie, who put together tonight's presentations. As dean in a university, I have a great opportunity. I get to watch young, bright people explore what they want to do with the rest of their life, right? Which is a terrific thing to watch from the outside. I think those of you as parents and students kind of living this exploration process, it might not be quite as fun. But I get that opportunity to see it happen a lot. My wife and I have 3 children here in Trumbull, 2 daughters and 1 son, a couple of them who might be here tonight, who have experienced amazing Trumbull High and taken the next steps to college. So I've also been part of this exploration period up close and personal, so I can commiserate. So my goal is to speak about what colleges and employers are looking for in successful students and employees. And I get this question a lot, sort of, what's the magic formula? You know, what do I need to get into college and to get a great career? Well, if I had the magic formula, by the way, I probably wouldn't be here. I'd be out on my yacht. But there may not be quite the magic formula. I think for each of you, you're going to find a certain path for yourself. But I can say just for the college front, right, you want to start certainly with wanting to see students with strong academics, students that are motivated in class, they want to achieve, right? And then on top of that academics is a student who is interesting and interested. Right? Interesting in that they start to ask good questions. They care about something. You're going to hear from a panel of students who will talk a lot about areas they care about. And the idea, and I think Dr. Chalfie just mentioned passion. Sometimes students get this a lot. You need to find your passion. I think that can be kind of overwhelming. What is my passion? I was kind of, all right, take it easy. We're going to figure that out. And it's an exploration process. And really, that's my theme, and what I'd like to say to you is be part of the exploration process. Search for what will be your passion and what you care about. I think if you're, I want to start by this exploration process can arise a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety. Part of what I want to do today is also address some of that and let some of that go. If students are in middle school, above 8th grade, 9th grade, up through sophomore in high school, what should you be doing about your career? You should not be worrying about your career, right? You should be involving yourself in some clubs and activities, learning about yourself, learning about others. Let that go for a while. Now, I know as students get closer and closer to junior and senior year, and we have a couple students over here in this position, the pressure will mount to become more specific, to choose that major. What sort of career do you want to go into? And I want to caution parents. I know we all want everybody to kind of know exactly where they're going to be and be on that arrow front of there. I want to ask you actually, how many of you knew in high school what you wanted to be and you actually ended up doing that? How many people right now? Come on, raise those hands high. Okay, I don't see a lot of hands out there, do I? Oh, really? Did you do that? All right, there are a couple of bright ones out there who did do that. I had no idea in high school where I would end up, right? I had no idea at the beginning of college where I thought I was going to be a game show host, and that has not worked out so far, but it could. Point being, most of students, the majority of students who show up at Fairfield University have one major, and that major is undeclared, right? They're exploring, and that's perfectly fine. That first couple of years can be a time of making wise choices, taking classes, figuring out what you like. So I really urge parents to stand back from some of their own anxiety to see that student be exactly what you want them to be and let them try to explore. Here's how I look at it actually from an employment perspective. It's impossible to predict right now what skills you're going to need in jobs 10 years hence. Right? So the idea is, I mean, you think about it, you're going to be in sophisticated technological organizations, right, that are rapidly changing. You think about, I mean, even 5 years ago, did you think cars would be able to drive themselves? Right? Did you think you'd have a watch that would send you messages and tell you what your heartbeat is? Right? Did you know that Taylor Swift, against all odds, would continue to be a pop star? No. You had no idea this would occur. And so I think the idea then is to gather skills around adaptability, the ability to learn, the ability to understand what other people are doing. That's what you want to focus on. I was talking to a consultant from Deloitte a few months ago and asking in terms of recruiting what he looked for. And he said his primary key in recruiting was looking for students who had that ability to learn, that ability to be flexible and adaptable. All right, so college. Do well in academics, work on that other side of finding out more about you so that you can figure out your path. Now let's think about in terms of employers, and this is when I'm in the role of dean in a business school talking to students about what you want to think about in terms of career. First, I think you need to take a balanced approach in the sense of something colleges now should almost be very career-oriented, almost vocational school. You should focus on career-specific skills. Again, know kind of where exactly you're going. Others see colleges, and a liberal arts approach would be in this mold of working on your identity, right? That college is a good time to find out more about yourself, to learn about critical thinking, to learn about context, philosophy, history, more about society. And my argument will be, we tend to separate these two. You can't do both together. But I would argue that you need to do both, right? It's really, and I call this the power of and, right? You need those specific career-related skills, certainly in business, to get that first job, right? But you also need that liberal arts background, that knowledge of context and society to have a job long term. I think you need both elements of that. I think we have an alumnus of Fairfield University at Goldman Sachs that I've talked to several times. He's a bond trader, so you know, tough guy, right? And he interviews college students a lot. He brings them in, and instead of asking about finance, right? Well, how does the Black-Scholes model work? He puts a blank piece of paper in front of the students, and it's a map of the United States without the states filled in. And he says, you have 1 minute, fill in the states. And get all frantic. And a lot of students who are excellent in the technicalities of finance and have a wonderful education don't do all that well on this exercise. And what's his point? I mean, his point is, I expect you to know the finance stuff. I expect you'll come in with, you've gone to a good school, you'll have the technicalities. Now what I want to know is, do you know about the rest of the world? Do you know what's going on out there? Do you know about your context? So, first point, balance both of those. They're both important. The second point is, if you are interested in a particular content area of opportunity, certainly the science, technology, engineering, and math, the STEM areas, are always desirable. right? And I know, not all of you enjoy math, but I will tell you that these analytical skills are often what employers are looking for. And certainly in the business arena, data analytics has become an extremely important part of what we're after, part of our curriculum. We see data analytics being very important across all aspects of business, but especially in marketing with a lot of social media data and in finance. So analytics, you can't be hurt by that. And I had to say that a little bit because my wife's a science teacher, but I just put that out there. Third, and now I'm going to go kind of the other way, yes, analysis is critical thinking is critical, soft skills are also critical. And what do I mean by that? You know, if you look at lists of, what skills are needed in careers, and I do this a lot, right? What employers want really hasn't changed in quite a while. And I just drew out the list from about, I think this was about 6 months ago for the Association of American Colleges and Universities. And they list 17 skill areas that employers want to see in students. And what are the top 4? Well, these will not be a surprise. Number 1, ability to effectively communicate orally and in writing. Okay, make sure you keep that as a critical aspect of what you're working on. Secondly, and we talk about this a lot in business school, the ability to effectively work with others in teams. And this, I call this the sort of 3 a.m. rule, right? If you're on a consulting project at 3 a.m., who do you want next to you working with you, okay? It's a person who works well in a team and knows how to work with people. Third, ethical judgment and decision making, and I'll say a bit more about that in a moment. And fourth, the critical thinking and analytical reasoning skills that I just talked about. So what does this list mean? I mean, first, it certainly means work on your writing and speaking. You can have the best ideas in your head, and unless you can influence others, communicate to others, it won't go anywhere. But it also means start now, even those of you in middle school, on relationship building. When I ask students what's the most important business skill they can have, they often talk about the numbers side or the analysis side. I say, no, it's a lot about building relationships, and Tom can address this as well, I'm sure. But this is a time where you can ask people what they think about their career, ask them about their jobs, ask them about what charges them about what they do, what excites them. That's a great way to meet people and start making connections. It is never too early to start your network, and I know that sounds very instrumental, but it's critical to connect with people and learn from them. So the soft skills are critical. I do want to emphasize the ethical judgment piece. Certainly with our Fairfield students, I talk a lot about our vision for them to develop into ethical business leaders for a global future, and we say it's not enough that you achieve the bottom line, it's how you achieve it, right? That integrity is critical for you. And it doesn't take much. You can have wonderful performance over a long period of time, and then a lapse in integrity can threaten all of that. And you might just think about the recent Volkswagen example to see what I'm talking about. So that ethical piece of being honest with yourself and others is critical. So don't forget the soft skills. So what does it take to get into college, and what does it take to get into careers? I think it's a lot of the same elements. High motivation, curiosity, energy, the passion we talked about, showing that you can be a leader in areas that interest you. So students, parents, be interested and be interesting. And I think that's a good formula for getting into college. It's a good formula for getting a career. And I might say it's an excellent way to have a fulfilling life. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Don. And I'm sure you're going to hear some overlapping messages from our next speaker again, Tom Tesoro, Human Resources Specialist at Standard Motor Products. Please join me in welcoming Attorney Tom Tesoro.
Hey, tall people. My dream when I was young was to be center for the Knicks. I fell about 3 feet short. Anyway, you can see Dr. Gibson had 5 pages. I've got 2 cards. Let me just start with a question. In my office, we have a job open. We do whatever we need to do to get recruits to come in. We get the resumes in, whether they be electronic or paper, and there's that pile. My director of talent acquisition looks at them. How much time does she spend looking at each of those resumes? I'll give you the 3 choices. 3 seconds, 30 seconds, 3 minutes. Guesses? How many say 3 seconds? You're right. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, next. So what are you going to do? How do you make an impression? What are we looking for in business? And I think Dr. Gibson said it exactly correct. He has a list of 17. The reality is we look for 3 things, and he mentioned all 3. First is we want people who can solve problems. Because in the world of business, problem solving is the #1 skill that we need. Number 2, communication skills. Written and oral communication skills are critical. 3, teamwork, because most of business today is done as teamwork. So in that resume that you're presenting, you have to be able to show those particular things. And by the way, those skills, the 3 skills that I mentioned, whether you are an entrepreneur, a skilled tradesman, whether you're going to go to college and into business like mine, whatever path, military, whatever path you choose, those skills are the skills that you're going to need. And that's what we look for. So let me ask you another question. Is it important where you go to school? How many people think it's important where you go to school? Raise your hand up. Okay, a couple of people. In some places it is. In my company, it's not. We understand that if you choose the path of going to college, there's a college for everyone. If you go to Harvard, wonderful, that's great. If you go to UConn, wonderful, that's great. You go to Fordham, wonderful, that's great. In my company, that's a little extra great, but it's great that you go to any of those places. But I would rather have a 3.0 from UConn than a 2.0 from Harvard. Because that's going to tell me that that person is spending time studying what they intend to study versus having a good time. So for all of you who are concerned that if I don't go to Duke University, your life is over, let me tell you, it isn't. You're young, don't worry about where you go to school, or wherever you go to school, make sure you apply yourself when you get there. Is it important what you study? How many think it's important what you study? How about the cheap seats? Okay, so make sure you're paying attention back there. Anyway, no, it's not. If you're going to be an accountant, yes, you should study accounting. If you want to go into engineering, you need to study engineering. But in my marketing department, for example, I have people whose majors, I looked today just to make sure I was telling you the truth. I have a geology major, several English majors, communication majors, business majors. I have every kind of major you could imagine. But they had those 3 skills, and we will teach you the rest. And that's how we approach it. So when you're in school, when you're young, take something you find that interesting. Yes, when I told my father I was going to be a psych major, he thought I was crazy. I said, well, that's why I'm a psych major, so I can get better. He didn't like that joke as much as you did either, right? But psych was, of the 30 kids that I remember who were in my kind of cadre of people who studied psych at Fordham University, 1 today has a PhD in psychology and does neuropsychological assessment in a hospital up in Albany. The rest of us are doing something different. Next, is it important that you know when you go into college, you know what you want to do with your life? Some people do, and you saw some hands go up. I'll answer that one for you, it's not. I went to college, studied psychology, went to law school, studied law. Today, I'm a vice president of human resources. Either I'm confused, right? Or I'm like everybody else. You try stuff. Try it when you're young. Again, the skill sets I learned in law school help me in the job that I'm in. The skill sets I learned in college help me in the job that I'm in. But if you had asked me in college at age 61, almost 62, what I'd be doing at that age, this would not have made the top 1,000 of the list. Things come, interests develop, and you will develop over time. That's what's really important, okay? It's not, I mentioned it's not important what you study. Is it important that you study? Let's raise those hands up for that one. You bet it is. Because at the end of the day, remember that 1, 2, 3 second thing? One of the first things to look at is your GPA. And we like to see that 3.0. If you don't have that 3.0, we may take a second look at it. But believe me, you want to have that 3.0 to get into the good pile very first. Now, wow, what does that mean? I can tell you this. Any person who's a graduate of the Trumbull school system, if they apply themselves in school, can easily get a 3.0. I'm telling you that. I know that for a fact. So, what I'm talking about today is having that balance that Dr. Gibson talked about. Go to school, go to college if that's your choice, have a great time, but make sure you study. Because if you don't study, you put yourselves in a hole. Don't do that. Why would you want to do that? If you think about how many hours of class does the average freshman take in college? 15 hours a week. Yeah. Well, that leaves a lot of hours, okay? If you split those hours in half, fun and study, you're going to get that 3.0 and probably a lot better than that. But you have to be able to learn to budget your time and apply yourself. And these are just practical things that you need to do. Because when the resume comes to me, okay, you want to make sure that you're going to catch my attention in that first 3 seconds, and that's one of the first things we look at. Not where you go to school, but did you study while you were there? So keep that in the back of your mind. Do you have to be in the top 10% of your class in high school to have a successful career? How many think so? Raise those hands. Okay? It helps, but you don't have to be. You can be at the bottom of your class and still have a successful career if you apply yourself in the field that you intend to go into. And I tell you this now because last year we had some people saying, well, you have all these great people up here. These are the best kids. What about my kid? Well, the fact of the matter is, your kid, when they apply themselves, will be just fine. And all of you will be just fine, too. What other questions do I have for you? Not many. Now I want to give you some advice. And now, first advice is a practical piece. One of the questions that I always ask during the interview process that you will have at some point is, tell me about something that you failed. Tell me where you failed. The wrong answer every time is, I've never failed. Right? Now, first of all, I'm going to think you're lying. But let's assume, okay, that you're the one person in a million that has never failed in their life. I look at you as a person who's due. Right? So I don't want you to have that on my business. You'll learn from your mistakes as well. Like me, in my career. 2 career changes. Now I'm starting to teach. That's going to be my 3rd career when I retire from here. You're going to change in the course, and don't worry about it. Suppose you pick the wrong college. Is that the end of the world? No. Transfer the next year and go to some place that's more amenable to you. My best friend from college, a woman now who's a lawyer down in Virginia, started out in Georgetown, didn't like Washington, came to Fordham. She did great, okay? She made her first choice, so don't worry about where you're going to college either, okay? You get there, you see if it looks great. When you get there, it doesn't turn out right for you, make the change. You start a career like I did. I practiced law for a while, didn't like it, made a change. It's possible for you to do that. So relax. So number 1 piece of advice, study. Number 2, okay? Join things. We talked about how do you demonstrate the fact you work as a team? Well, be part of a team. It could be an academic team, it could be an athletic team, it could be a club, it could be any of those things. And I know here at Trumbull High School, for example, and the middle school as well, there's a myriad of opportunities for you to join things and show that you're able to work as part of a team. Critical skill to learn, it's available for you here. Take advantage of it while you're here. Number 3, relax. I've seen so many people stressed out over things like, how did I do on my SAT? I didn't get 800. What did you get? 750. Terrible. Horrible. Okay? 650. 500. Guess what? There'll be a school for you. Get there, study, and apply yourself. But apply yourself and study. Finally, last, advocate for yourself. It's a critical thing that a skill that you need to learn, whether it be in college or business. If there's something you want, go get it. Not like a bully, not like a bull in a china shop, but learn to advocate for yourself. Because in the business world, if you don't ask, you don't get. So that's my speech for tonight. What did you think of it? Normally I get standing ovations. Don't feel the need. Thank you, folks. I appreciate your time today.
You know, this is a perfect segue for me to go back now to Eric August, who kicked off the program this evening, because I'm sure he wouldn't mind me sharing this with you. He's said it publicly over and over. Here's an example of someone who was a practicing attorney, and he is now an educator. He's a member of our Trumbull High School Social Studies Department, and actually he's known throughout Connecticut as the Trumbull High School advisor of the state champion mock trial style team here. He is now, I'm sure, prepared to introduce to you our panelists, our students who are at Trumbull High presently, as well as some recent graduates. And I'm sure they're ready to participate in tonight's exchange. So as long as you're ready, Eric, I think everybody else is too. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. There we go. Thank you, Dr. Chaffee. One thing I wanted to add, too, just to kind of dovetail what Dr. Chaffee said, it's really difficult. I see kids on a daily basis at the school, and take it from me, it's really difficult for a 15, 16, 17-year-old kid to make decisions for what a 30, 31, 32-year-old adult is going to want to do. And I'm living proof of that. I always wanted to play Major League Baseball, and that didn't work out for me. But my second thing was I wanted to be an attorney, and I was sure of that from the age of 14, only to find out that when I was about 30 years old that I was meant to be a teacher. So students, this is to you. Parents, you can put earmuffs on for this one. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about what you have to become, because you're making decisions right now for someone you haven't met yet. A 30-year-old that you're not going to meet for 13, 14 years. And who knows what that 30-year-old is going to want to actually do. So, like Tom said, relax. That being said, I'm going to direct it over to our panel. I'm going to first introduce them one by one from my left, your right. We're going to start with Marissa Piccolo, who was class of 2013, and she is currently at the University of Connecticut. To her left is Phil Reardon. He was class of 2014, and he is currently serving his electrical apprenticeship at Elite Electrical Contractors right here in Trumbull, right, Phil?
Correct.
Next to Phil on his left is Fred Tamarkin. He was a graduate just last year, 2015. He was the president, correct?
Yes.
And he is currently attending Cornell University. And to his left, a graduate from Trumbull High School in 2013, Nicole Wittstein, and she is currently in the honors program at the University of South Carolina. Those are our four panelists of former THS students. To their left is our panel of current students here at Trumbull High School. So we'll start first with Ian Maloney, who is going to be graduating just a couple months here in 2016, and Ian will have a chance to tell you a little bit about what he's looking to do. To his left is Emily Ormond, and she is also going to be graduating in a couple months, and she will have a chance as well. To her left is Anush Suresh Babu, who is graduating a year and some months from now in 2017. And to his left is Deja Willery, who has a couple of years left to go on her tenure here at Trumbull High School. So without further ado, let's get to the questions. So we're going to start off with this first question, and this is for Freddie, Phil, and Nicole in that particular order. So I'll start with the question. When did you decide what you wanted to do beyond the halls of Trumbull High School? I'm not necessarily referring to what you wanted to be when you were a 30, 35-year-old person, but when did you make the decision to what you wanted to do when you left here? Can you tell us a little bit about that decision and when you made it?
Absolutely. And I think I can answer that question a little bit closer to what we were talking about earlier and what our interests are. As a sophomore in the Trumbull Regional Agri-Science and Biotech program, I found myself in Louisville, Kentucky at Nationals for our FFA convention. And I was there for a public speaking competition, speaking about urban integrated agriculture and its economic impact, which is probably boring to many of you, but it was interesting to me at the time. And a Columbia professor walked up to me out of nowhere after I'd finished my speech. He was just sitting in the audience, and we started talking. And I looked up at the clock at the end, and we had been talking for an hour and 45 minutes. And my parents, like they were naturally a little bit scared that I was talking to this stranger for an hour and 45 minutes as a sophomore in high school, came over and asked what was going on, and we had been talking about his research and everything like that. And that was the day I knew what I wanted to do, not necessarily as a job, but what I was interested in, and that was the life sciences and the business side of the life sciences there. From that day on, I didn't need anything else to convince me. I was very interested in that, and I found Cornell. When I visited, I found a quad, university quad, that shared the biotech building, the plant biotech building, and business. I walked in and spoke with a couple professors, and that was it. That was exactly what I knew what I wanted to do. Right now I'm majoring in applied economics and management and plant biotechnology. They're two very unique things that I found here at Trumbull High School that I would not have found if I did not get involved here And I think that Trumbull High School gives you the opportunity to find those unique interests. And I can tell you that a couple hours before that event, I didn't even know they existed. So I like what Mr. Sosoro and Dr. Gibson were talking about earlier. It's a conversation. The entire high school process, the entire college process is simply a conversation. And if you're not willing to ask and if you're not willing to speak, you're not going to get anything back. But if you're willing to put in that time, you're willing to put in that effort and interest, you'd be really, really surprised to find who's waiting to answer your questions.
Phil, same thing.
My experience was a little different than Freddie's. Mine was junior year. Everybody, all my classmates were starting to get ready for their college applications, visiting colleges, talking about where they wanted to go. I knew that wasn't for me. My father owns an electrical company here in Trumbull, just celebrated 20 years of business this year, and just knew it wasn't for me. I knew the opportunity I had, so I took that opportunity. I knew that when I visited one college, it wasn't for me. Didn't really see myself there. I did that summer. I worked in the summer with him every day, and I just knew that was for me. Meeting new people, working with my hands every day, just learning skills, seeing new faces, and so this whole process is for you. Everybody's different. Kind of what Freddie said though. At the end of the day, how much you put in is what you're going to get out. It's just how hard you work, and that's where I am today.
Phil, not to put you on the spot, but one quick follow-up. Was it tough to come to that realization that college wasn't for you?
I think so. When you're hanging around your friends and everybody's talking about going to visit colleges and what you're going to do with your life, when I came to the realization that that wasn't for me, a lot of my friends were doomed. You know, I think society, this day and age, kind of has this profound that the only way, or true success is going to that, which is great if it's for you, whether it's the military or a trade or college, whatever it is for you. You're the one that has to wake up every morning and do that job. Your parents aren't going to do that for you. You're the one that has to do it for you. So if your parents don't agree with it, there should definitely be a conversation about that and why that is. But at the end of the day, you're the one that has to wake up. And yeah, it was kind of tough at first, but once, people started doing it and, you meet friends after college and they're like, oh, how you doing? At the end of the day, I wouldn't change my decision.
Thanks, Phil. Nicole?
Yeah, except for like a brief little stint when I was about 12, when I thought I was going to go into New York and dedicate my life to acting. I've always been on the academic track, so I did always just sort of know that I was going to be going to college, but I didn't really know specifically how I wanted to go about following that track until my junior year, when I took Mr. August's Honors Justice and Law class and began mock trial. What Mr. Tesoro and Dr. Gibson were talking about before about finding your passion, I consider myself very lucky because I really did find my passion in mock trial. It really clicked with it. I fell in love, and as Mr. August would tell me, I have to be very good at it. So I found myself very fortunate that I was able to find something that set me on a track to wanting to go to an undergraduate university that could put me on a solid track to law school. So that specifically led me to the University of South Carolina, which the Honors College offers a program for me to actually design my own major in legal advocacy and jurisprudence. So I'm learning a lot of the fundamental skills required to go to law school. And I also wasn't considering a program or a university that didn't have a prominent mock trial team. So that guided me there, where now I've been able to go on, study what I want to study, and also become a second president of a new mock trial team. And to anyone out there who's going to hear, being involved with this club or that club and get a little maybe overwhelmed and worry about finding your passion here, don't let yourself get overwhelmed, because, as again, Mr. August likes to remind me repeatedly, I actually passed up on mock trial, the one thing I love most in this whole world, my sophomore year. I went to a meeting and then walked out because I didn't know what it was and I didn't think it was something I could get involved with. And then I was exposed to it again when I took the class. So if you hear something that you like, just go for it. see if you like it, sit down, because you never know where you're going to find your passion. I thought it was with theater, it wasn't, it was with law. So try new things, and you never know what you're going to find.
Okay, Marissa, this one's for you. How important do you think it is to actually know what you want to do beyond the halls of Trumbull High School? And if it isn't that important, why or why not?
All right, so my name is Marissa Piccolo. That's a good question. I would really echo what the speaker said earlier. You know, about this time of your life, I guess at this age, you probably do have a good idea of what subjects you typically tend to do better in, or what you find more interesting. And honestly, I would say that's definitely a good starting point. For me, I've always really loved social studies classes. So throughout Trumbull High, I've really gotten involved in activities like We the People, Mall UN, even Yearbook Trillium, to learn those kind of teamwork, social skills. And I currently want to go to law school, but that's something I didn't know until actually the summer after my freshman year of college. It was actually an internship. I was interning with Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro, working in constituent services, meaning I would basically advocate for constituents in the district with federal agencies, and it really made me believe that law is the way I think I could most effectively build a career for myself, while also serving my interest in society, helping other people. So to go back to the original question, again, I wouldn't stress out at all. I think it's really positive that you guys are all here tonight just to start thinking. It shows what Dr. Gibson was talking about earlier, that you're interested. I think that's really enough right now in terms of your interest. But again, just really start to think about what classes you think are really applicable to your interests, your passions, and really from there, it's good to fall naturally into clubs. So I think right now, this is a good starting point.
Okay, so let's now hear from the students who are currently here. Ian and Emily, this question is for you. Have the two of you made a decision as to what you want to do beyond the halls here at Trumbull High School, and if so, what is it? And when and how did you come to that decision?
My decision at this point is the University of New Haven to study criminal justice, and I'm looking into maybe legal studies as well. I'm trying to stay open-minded, taking that advice that has definitely been passed around tonight. Luckily, I'd say that I've had my heart set on the University of New Haven since the 8th grade, so that's been my top school for the past 4 or 5 years. So getting accepted there was definitely exciting, and I was able to make up my mind pretty quickly, and I'm hoping to follow a career in law enforcement on the federal level.
I have not decided where I'm going to school next year yet, but I was actually able to participate in a job shadow program here at Trumbull High, and at first I shadowed a speech pathologist, but I decided that that wasn't the right career for me, so after that I shadowed a special education teacher, and I absolutely fell in love with it, so now I can imagine myself doing anything other than that.
Okay, Marissa, back to you. So you talked a little bit about your decisions that brought you to UConn. What steps did you take here at Trumbull High School that kind of got you on the path that you're currently on?
Thanks. Well, really, of course, college. The first priority, most important priority of college is learning, academics. So I would say really, of course, it's important to be involved with clubs, but I think it's really important to make sure that your grades stay high where you want to see them. So focusing on academics led me to UConn through getting an honors scholarship, which I'm really grateful for and so happy I made the decision to attend UConn. But more specifically in terms of what led me to my current path would definitely be the experiences I've had in clubs at Trumbull High. I think Trumbull High is a really great way of providing opportunities to bring learning outside the classroom, really hand-on skills. For example, senior year I was editor-in-chief with 2 of my other friends for Trillium Yearbook, and that really gave me as a senior really hands-on skills in an office, something that without these extracurricular opportunities I wouldn't have had the chance to really have a meaningful experience, like publishing an actual object, like an actual thing that people read by at the end of the year. So definitely those experiences kind of gave me an idea of like agency, I would say, and really the confidence to continue exploring. And ultimately, journalism wasn't the field I decided to enter, but it really kind of secured that for me, and then led me more towards political science and on the track I am today. And of course, I love Trillium, and I think I've got great friends, great memories, great skills that even though they're not directly like law related, definitely like teamwork, communications, still relate.
Bill, what about you?
My sophomore year, kind of like Marissa, I took some special classes that kind of led me to my path today. Trumbull High, I think, does a great job showing different classes. So I took a wood class, so you build things and with my hands. I took an auto class where we put a car on the lift, take it apart, redo brakes, learn a little bit about the mechanic industry. I took architectural CAD, so building things, constructing things. Giving a project done, saying, we have to build, a house. This is what it has to have. Build it for me. You're going to get graded on it. Present it to the class. And then, of course, also once I made the decision, of not attending college, taking the business classes that are offered here at Trumbull High School, which I think helped me tremendously. And I think I will talk a little bit more in the next questions.
So how much of what you learned in those classes that you were working with your hands do you find that you use now in what you're doing?
Unfortunately, Trumbull High didn't offer, an electrical class. It's a little kind of too dangerous, and it's just getting your mind, active, and just getting your hands a little dirty every once in a while, and kind of like figuring things out, learning things. All the trades are still the same, no matter what. Plumbing, electrical, carpentry, they're all the same. It's just figuring things out, and learning how to do it, and taking things apart and putting them back together, and just having confidence in what you do. That's really.
Thanks, Bill. Okay, Deja. You are the youngest member of the panel. So can you tell us a little bit about the track that you're kind of currently on and what you've involved yourself here at Trumbull to kind of help you on that path?
Well, I really just look for clubs that, they really talk about interested and interesting. So I really look for clubs that pique my interest, but I also try and keep it open-minded to things that I maybe wouldn't have considered. And one of these clubs that's really a big one for me currently is the academic decathlon team. I'm currently the co-president of the team. And, I joined the web club, tech team. I joined the ACE mentorship, which is architecture, construction, engineering. But I hadn't really joined anything that wasn't specifically towards the careers that I was looking at, which is, if you couldn't guess, in engineering and technology. So I decided, all right, let's just go for the academic decathlon and see what happens. What I realized is that it's, first of all, something that's really specific, like for whatever career you're going into, it can help you because they have portions on, there's an interview portion of the competition as well as public speaking. There's the team building, hard work that it's mixed in enough with fun that you can really have low stress that doesn't really pack on top of school. So I started doing the club, and I realized that the way that it encompasses every different subject, whether you're into math, science, music, art, it doesn't really matter what you're into. It lets you focus on that while also branching out into different subjects. And that's really helped me, as well as problem-solving issues, because I was taking the competition as a freshman. And when they're asking questions about calculus, I was